Chalo, we'll begin with our session. Good morning, good morning, and a very warm welcome back to day 2 of 16th Agricorp conference. On day 1, we had an incredible day 1 where we have different sessions. We had session on innovations in sustainable agriculture. Then we had a session about smart farming, use of AI for livestock and dairy. And today we are going to have another incredible session. So setting the stage for innovation, and we are going to tackle different critical pillars of policy, finance, investments, etc. As the great economist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan said, if agriculture goes wrong, nothing else will have chance to go right. So let's start this day energized to discuss the mechanism that empower our farmers and agribusiness to thrive globally. And our introductory session is understanding agricultural tariffs and trade policies. And to conduct this session, our moderator, Mr. Rajesh Sinha, angel investor, consultant, and expert committee member, Agriculture and Food Processing Committee, Bombay Chamber. And our proposed speakers who are here, I welcome all of them. Mr. Abhay Dandwate, Chief Risk Officer, CRO and Head Strategy, National Bulk Handling Corporation Private Limited. Mr. Ajit C. Lad, Director and Agribusiness and Commodity Analyst, Farmeducon Research Foundation. Mr. Shrikant, Kuwalekar, Commodity Price Risk Management Consultant and Advisor to World Bank's SMART project. So let's give them a big round of applause, and I would like to request Mr. Rajesh Sinha, sir.
बीसीसीआई के एग्रीकॉप कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत है। आज का जो हमारा पहला सेशन है उसमें हमारा जो मुख्य उद्देश्य है वो है कि हम कैसे अपने किसानों को ज़्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव बना सकें। अपना देश जो है अब फूड डेफिसिट नहीं है। अब अपना देश जो है भले ही हम कुछ कमोडिटीज़ में सेल्फ सफिशिएंट नहीं हैं, लेकिन बहुत सारी कमोडिटी है जिसमें आज हम एक फूड सरप्लस नेशन है। तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हमारे देश के किसानों की इनकम बढ़ती रहे और अच्छी उनकी आय रहे। उसके लिए हमें एक ग्लोबली कॉम्पिटिटिव बनना ही पड़ेगा। हमारे पास उसके लिए रास्ता नहीं है। वी डोंट हैव ए चॉइस नॉट टू बिकम ग्लोबली कॉम्पिटिटिव। एंड अनदर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, वर्ल्ड हैज चेंज्ड अ लॉट। द वर्ल्ड नो लॉन्गर लुक्स एट India or any other country as someone to whom they cannot impose additional barriers. And one of the most potent barriers is imposing tariffs on the produce from that country. With the most powerful economy in this world, USA changing the rules last year, openly saying we will impose tariffs as a tool to protect and earn more income. So it's no longer only related to agri or agri policy, it's also related to a country and country's own pride and everything else. Okay. So today amongst us we have very very important panelists, all these people, and we have a mix of young and very experienced people. So at one end you have someone like Ajit who has no barriers. He is not limited by experience or thought processes that many of us may have with age and experience. And the other hand, we have people like Shrikant and Abhay who have spent their life making Indian agriculture more competitive in their own ways. Okay. So before I start, I will just say tariff क्या होता है और कैसे होता है. Tariff is essentially an additional charge that a country imposes. कोई भी देश जो है अपने देश में सामान बाहर के देशों से लाने के लिए कुछ चार्ज लगाता है, उसको हम लोग टैरिफ बोलते हैं. उदाहरण के लिए हमारे देश में अगर आपको एलमंड या कोई भी ट्री नट्स लाने हैं तो हम खुद 150% जो है हमारा टैरिफ है. तो दूसरे देश से अगर आप ये समझें कि अगर हम इसको ज़ीरो कर दें तो जो आज हम वॉलनट और एलमंड्स खाते हैं वो 150% सस्ते हो जाएंगे। ये एक बहुत अलग बात है। हमारे डेयरी के प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, हमारा देश खुद ही है जो 30 से 50% तक जो है टैरिफ लगाता है। तो जब हम टैरिफ लगाते हैं तो अब दूसरे देश भी कह रहे हैं हम भी लगाएंगे। तो इसमें बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम कॉम्पिटिटिव हों ग्लोबली। तो उसके लिए मैं इनवाइट करूंगा सबसे पहले श्रीकांत जी को। एंड श्रीकांत जी, वी कैन स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, हिंदी और मराठी, सिंस आई हैड अ रिक्वेस्ट दैट वी हैव टू स्पीक इन mixed language, so I am doing that. So tell us, what is an agricultural tariff and how do you think, it impacts our farmers? Tariff होता क्या है पहले, और इससे रिसेंट जो हमारे अभी अभी जो भी उदाहरण हुए हैं, मैक्सिको ने लगाया है, यूएस ने लगाया है, बायलैटरल एग्रीमेंट्स चल रहे हैं, तो इससे कैसे हमारे किसानों की आय पे फर्क पड़ सकता है?
Hello. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Let me tell you first of all that my answer and my research or my study is based more on the journalistic wisdom. And being a journalist, we have 360-degree exposure, but not on a micro level, but on a macro level. So to that extent, my answers or my discussion will be based on that experience. So coming back to tariffs, we all know tariffs is, in a simpler language, these are the import taxes imposed by the importing countries and foreign countries. So what happens, whatever agricultural exports we are doing to certain countries, and our major destinations like US and recently Mexico. The latest one is Mexico. This US has already imposed tariffs, heavy tariffs, 50%. And now Mexico yesterday has confirmed that they have also imposing 35% to 50% tariffs on Indian goods. And in terms of statistics, we are exporting roughly around $800 million worth of agriculture exports to Mexico, which are at danger. So similarly, our $7-8 billion, more than that, of course, exports are at risk for US and Mexico alone. Because of this, what happened, we were not ready from policy angle, I'm saying, we were not ready to take these shocks and adjust immediately. So what is happening, what we are seeing around us, there are two things. First of all, our agricultural exports or agriculture commodities are not very competitive in world market. But whatever portion of our agriculture was competitive, very small portion of our agricultural products was competitive globally. That was going in the export market. But that is also hit by these tariffs now. So the impact is that that export has come down. So first, there are two impacts. First thing, sentiment. Overall sentiment is dampened, and that sentiment is reflected everywhere around you. So you can see all the prices of agriculture commodities are below MSP, below minimum support prices. Despite local production is little lesser than our own demand, still prices are below MSP. So that is more because of a sentiment. Secondly, government frequent interventions, like you can take for wheat, there is an intervention like wheat stock limits, and all the commodities, whether it's a rice, it is a corn, or it is a soybean, frequent government interventions has dragged down the prices because people or traders or stockists, nobody is interested to invest a single pie and stock up these commodities because of this price volatilities and policy volatility. So that is the reason why this bearishness or sentiment has dampened. And the ultimate, for any problem, the ultimate victim is farmers. And that's how farmers are affected. Tariff is obviously, our subject is tariff. So tariff has put additional pressure in these days. Generally, government policies and intervention was a bigger problem. And now that tariffs have really hurt very hard. And this is the reality, so we have to cope up with it and chart our path accordingly. Thank you.
Shrikant has talked about the policy matter, what tariffs are. Now we have amongst us Abhay, who has spent his life significantly on working how Indian farmers can be more competitive. He's a chief risk officer with National Bulk Handling Corporations, one of India's most premier institutions that is into collateral management, warehousing, and in general, they are custodian for many exporters. They keep the grains and commodities so that they can be exported. So I would like Abhay to dwell on how does export policies, come into play, and how does it impact the competitiveness of farmers in the global market.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. So first of all, I would like to speak broadly about not only from the export point of view, but from the entire trade policy point of view. Because if you look at it, the trade policies of India has basically aimed at to balance the various stakeholders, because they have to ensure that the commodity prices remain stable, the commodity prices domestically it remains viable for the consumers, also the farmers' interest, as well as the international competitiveness, and also to ensure the food security, because we have a large population to feed. So around 80 crore people are being fed through the PDS systems. So that's why the government has to strike a balance between the different stakeholders. And so broadly, the government try to aim, so the policies are basically mix of export ban or export ban or import restrictions, or sometimes trade concessions, trade promotions. Also, in order to ensure the price volatility, they have to ensure it. So though all policies are basically driven by these four objectives. So in terms of the export point of view, recently you have seen that in order to keep the prices lower, in order to make affordable to the consumer, the government keeps on increasing the export duties, sometimes export bans, sometimes MEP. Recently you have seen it. The government has actually put an export, initially the export ban on paddy, then put the MEP, maximum minimum import prices for, even for basmati also they had kept at $1,200, then subsequently they reduced it, and so which has impacted the overall sentiments of the market. So right now, if you see, the rice production has almost crossed to the 150 million, 50 million tons. So there was no shortage of the paddy earlier. But since the wheat impact was there, wheat shortage was there, wheat prices were going upwards, government had put wheat stock limit also, and they wanted to ensure that the inflation remains well within the norms, and it still remains, because agriculture has always been a very emotive issue in India. So they always wanted to keep the inflation lower. Now, right now the food inflation is negative. But because of that, they put a ban on the rice export also. Rice export also, they have put it ban. Now later on they lifted that ban. Similarly, you see the case of onion. Onion was the classic case. Initially, they put a 40% export duty, then brought it down to 20%, then put it MEP, and then now they are lifted. But by that time, that opportunity which was lying for the farmer, that was missed. And the other countries, neighboring countries, Pakistan, or they took the advantage of it. And then subsequently, because our major export was going into Bangladesh, now Bangladesh has also put initially, like they had, because they wanted to ensure that the domestic interest, that's why they banned the import of onion. Now deforested, they have again opened it, but the quota which has been released. So because of that, the entire farmer community has been impacted. So India's export policy, as Shrikant has also pointed out, that they keep on changing, and frequent intervention by the government, on and off they are keeping the, either they are bringing some export bans, sometimes they are putting a minimum export price, sometimes import hike, quota system, like in sugar also, they have put a quota system. Right now they have 1.5 lakh ton they are just releasing. For cotton also, now this year cotton productions are good. So unless the government will keep the intervention lower, that's why, and allow the market to determine the price based on the supply and demand, the farmers will get benefited, because ultimately government has the interest, they are providing MSP. MSP system is taking care, but MSP is only meeting the demand of only rice and wheat. Rest all the commodities, sometimes they are forced by the forced by the government to NAFED to buy certain groundnut or certain pulses when the prices got down. But by and large, the MSP is actually declared for many crops, almost 23, 24 crops, but actual buying is done by only for 2-3 crops. So because of that, government, the MSP continuous demand, the focus on MSP is actually destroying the interests of the farmers in terms of their export competitiveness. However, they have been able to contain the prices to that extent, that is agreeable to point. But now if you see the present level of prices, the prices are very low. Look at the prices of maize. Is still below MSP, much below MSP. It's hovering around 1700 to 1800, 17 rupees to 18 rupees per kg. Cotton prices are low. Cotton productions are low. Wheat prices are still above the, still around 2600. But the people who had actually stored that stock wheat, they have not been able to recover the prices of interest and the storage charges. So because of that, entire sentiment has been affected. So in order to to safeguard the interests of farmers and the entire value chains of the traders, because presently unless the traders will remain in the market, the interests of the farmers cannot also not be taken care of. The trader has to be, we have to consider traders as one of the important component of that entire agriculture chain. If that, because how much government will buy it? Government can buy only for PDS. They are just buying 45 to 46 billion ton of rice, for 27 to 30 million tons of wheat. What about the rest of the crops? And because of that, ultimately the buying has to be done by the traders. Processor will buy it, but if over the period of time now the crops are available, the processor also not stocking that commodity. They are just buying it because it's available round the corner, round the year. Now the commodities are available. So in that respect, I would say that the government has to be little bit cautious about it, and they have to reduce the interventions quite often. As and when there is required, that time definitely they should intervene, but allow the market forces to determine the prices, which will take care of the interest of all the stakeholders, including the farmers.
So Abhay has very importantly put on very passionately what's important in policy. So let me just summarize part of it, what he has said. So we have both the constituency. At one end we have consumers whose cares has to be taken care of, and that has remained at the center of our government's policies since we have become independent. Okay, so export policies are a reflection of how consumer behavior government desires to be. Okay, but there is another piece in the trade policy here, in our agricultural policy, that is the market policy. Since government decides most of the decisions on prices and quota, our agriculture markets remain one of the least developed markets where market forces are not allowed to operate freely. This may be a matter for discussion in any other forum, so I will not really dwell deeper on it. So suffice to say that we need to have a much deeper commodity market. Like we have in stock exchanges, in securities, we have a very well functioning and a globally competitive market. The same cannot be said about our commodity forwards or commodity spot markets. We have regional commodity markets run by regional governments, which are extremely good. So for example, Maharashtra state looks at their own interests and that's how they do it. But the moot point of balancing a farmer's interest and a consumer interest and bringing in a transparent, fair and globally competitive price discovery mechanisms remains an area where we need to work a lot. Okay. Having said that, let's come back to it, that amongst us we have someone, many of us have spent our lifetimes in trying to understand and operate on it and work on it. But we have in Ajit a very young person who is a very enthusiastic researcher. He is working with various entities including Sahyadri Farms, and his way of working is how can he contribute to make our farmers much more competitive by enhancing their own capabilities. Okay, so I would like Ajit to share his experience on how you think farmers can be made competitive, not on the policy front, not on the tariff front, but how he can be the most competitive global producer so that he can export and seek the markets where he gets the best price. Ajit.
थँक्यू. जय सरांनी आपल्यासमोर जो क्वेश्चन्स आता जो दिला आहे आणि ह्या दोन एक्सपिरियन्स.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Hindi, Marathi.
Yes, I will speak with Marathi more because I do with I thinking there is more farmers. यहाँ पे मुझे जो बुलाया गया है तो जो हमारा विजन है जो हम अभी काम करते हैं एज ए लाइक स्टार्टअप्स कि फार्मर्स को ग्लोबल लेवल का फार्मर्स बनाना है. लास्ट 1 साल से महाराष्ट्र के जितने फार्मर्स से मैं मिल रहा हूँ उनके साथ काम कर रहा हूँ. जो ओनियन का फार्मर है, मेज़ का फार्मर है, तो सबसे एक ही मुझे आंसर आता है कि हमारी क्वालिटी अच्छी नहीं है, इस वजह से हमारा जो ट्रेडर है वो हमें कम प्राइस दे रहा है. तो हम हमारे डोमेस्टिक मार्केट में क्वांटिटी में मर रहे हैं एज लाइक फार्मर. तो हम एक्सपोर्ट और इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में हम कैसे उनसे कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस बना पाएंगे. तो अभी जो हम काम कर रहे हैं स्पेशली तो फार्मर्स को ग्लोबल लेवल का फार्मर्स बनाना है. क्योंकि अब हम देखते हैं कि हमारा जो एग्रीकल्चर पैराडॉक्स हम जिसको बोलते हैं कि हम सरप्लस हर एक प्रोडक्ट में सरप्लस है, फिर भी हम इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. क्या इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं? जो प्रीमियम क्वालिटी के जो फूड्स होते हैं, फ्रूट है, उसके बाद आलमंड है, ये पूरा हम बाहर से इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. तो हमें अभी जो पॉलिसी थिंकिंग और जो काम करना चाहिए इंडियन एग्रीकल्चर में, तो वो ये करना चाहिए कि हम फार्मर्स को कैसा जो हम बोलते हैं कि बैकवर्ड लिंकेज बोलते हैं, तो उसमें हम कैसा काम करें, उनके साथ हैंड्स होल्ड उनके साथ कैसा काम करें. जो हमारा एक अभी एक काम चल रहा है कि एक जो हम बोलते हैं सह्याद्री फार्म से, कि अभी भी सह्याद्री हमें पता है कि वो कितना ग्रेप्स इंटरनेशनल में उनका अच्छा काम है, फिर भी उनके फार्मर्स उनके रिगार्डिंग उस एरिया के फार्मर्स अभी भी कॉम्पीट नहीं कर पा रहे जो क्वालिटी जो साइज़ होती है तो उससे. तो वो जो प्रैक्टिसेस होते हैं तो वो प्रैक्टिसेस से उनको अभी हमें अवेयर करना है कि ग्लोबल में क्या चल रहा है और तुम्हें क्या लेना है. तो इसी साथ जो हम बोलते हैं कि जो हमारा अर्बन जो हमारा कंज्यूमर है वो ज़्यादातर प्रीमियम क्वालिटी का खाना चाहता है, तो उसी तरह का हमें देना चाहिए उनको. तो अभी हमारा एक नीति आयोग का रिपोर्ट भी आया था कि हमारा जो लो रेट ग्रोथ रेट चल रहा है, जो पॉपुलेशन रेट चल रहा है, उसी वजह से कंजम्पशन भी अभी कम हो जाएगा. तो अभी हमें सरप्लस कितना सरप्लस करना है, तो हमें अभी क्वालिटी पर्पस काम करना है. हमें फार्म जो उनकी नीड है उस तरफ का हमें देना है. तो मेरा ये मानना है कि अभी अगर हम कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस क्रिएट करेंगे तो कॉम्पिटिटिव्स क्रिएट करने के लिए जो हम बैकवर्ड लिंकेज बोलते हैं कि फार्मर्स को उस प्रैक्टिसेस देना, उसके बाद सप्लाई चेन में कोल्ड चेन डेवलप करना, उसके बाद फार्मर्स को प्राइस रियलाइजेशन जैसे टूल्स देना, रिस्क मिटिगेशन करना, फार्मर्स को फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट बढ़ाना. इससे क्या होगा तो उससे पूरा फार्मर्स एक एंटरप्रेन्योर बनेगा, तो उससे कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस क्रिएट हो जाएगा. और उसके बाद हमारा जो ट्रेड में जो हमारे कमोडिटी जाएगी, हम ग्लोबल को कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस कर सकते हैं. अभी हम थोड़ा टैरिफ देखते हैं कि अभी कल परसों 2 ही दिन पहले हमें लगा कि राइस में कुछ तो चल रहा है. जब मैं पढ़ाई कर रहा था तो मुझे लग रहा था कि अरे यार अभी टैरिफ अमेरिका ने हमें वापस वो बोल रहे हैं कि राइस पे हम ये करेंगे, तो उसे अभी हमारे राइस मार्केट गिर जाएगा क्या, ऐसा मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था. लेकिन जब मैंने पूरा स्टैटिस्टिक देखा तो ऐसा पता चला कि भाई सिर्फ वो लोग बासमती ही ज़्यादा लेते हैं, वो भी 4% है. ज़्यादातर हम मिडल ईस्ट जो ईरान वो जो कंट्रीज है वहाँ पे देते हैं. फिर भी हमें वो एक प्रकार का जो बोलते हैं कि एक फ्रस्ट्रेशन हो रहा था कि क्या हो सकता है. तो क्योंकि प्रीमियम क्वालिटी का वो राइस है, तो अभी हमें सिर्फ राइस और वीट में नहीं काम करना है, तो हमें अभी हॉर्टिकल्चर में काम करना है. उसके बाद हमें कैशो में काम करना है, जो हम उससे सेल्फ सफिशिएंट बनेंगे, कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस बनेंगे. जो अभी जो हमारी गवर्नमेंट की जो पॉलिसीज़ है कि डाइवर्सिटी हम क्या करें, हम फार्मर्स तो रिस्क लेने वाला नहीं है, वो नेचुरली उसको जो मिलेगा उससे ही काम करेगा। तो हमें अभी जो सब्सिडीज जो हमारी है तो उसको हमें डाइवर्सिफिकेशन करना है। तो यानी कि क्या होगा कि फार्मर्स शिफ्ट हो जाएगा अदर्स क्रॉप के डाइवर्सिफिकेशन के लिए। तो जो प्रैक्टिसेस है तो वो हमें अच्छे से करना है, तो हम कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस में काम कर सकते हैं सर।
थैंक यू अजीत। तो अगर हम समझें कि कोई भी जो प्रोड्यूस है भारत का या कोई भी दुनिया में है वो कॉम्पिटिटिव कैसे हो सकता है, ऐसा नहीं हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स कॉम्पिटिटिव नहीं है। टैरिफ लगाने के बाद भी और बाकी देशों के साथ या हमारी जो भी इनकन्सिस्टेंट एक्सपोर्ट पॉलिसी हो तब भी हम दुनिया के सबसे बड़े राइस के एक्सपोर्टर हैं। आज हम ग्रेप्स के बड़े एक्सपोर्टरों में से एक हैं। हम जो हैं फिश, श्रिम्प, इन सब में भी हम दुनिया के बड़े एक्सपोर्टरों में आते हैं। तो ऐसी क्या चीज़ है जो किसी भी कमोडिटी को एक्सपोर्ट कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाती है, जिसमें चाहे टैरिफ हो या कोई देश कुछ भी कर ले, हमारे देश का जो प्रोड्यूस है वो दुनिया में जाएगा ही जाएगा। तो इसमें मुख्यतः 3 चीज़ें होती है। पहला है लो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। जब हम लो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन कह रहे हैं उसमें कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ नहीं होना है हमें अभी भी। तो आप उदाहरण लेंगे, चाहे ग्रेप्स का ले लीजिए, श्रिम्प्स का ले लीजिए, ग्वार गम का ले लीजिए, रेजिन्स का ले लीजिए, हम ये काफ़ी सारे प्रोडक्ट्स में कॉम्पिटिटिव हैं। तो एक है लो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। दूसरा क्या है, यूनिक वेराइटीज़ जो सिर्फ आपके पास है, जैसे बासमती राइस है। अब राजकोट से सींग दाना है, अगर आप उसको कहें कि भाई राजकोट का सींग दाना है, उससे हमने मूंगफली का तेल निकाला है, तो ये संभव है। वहाँ के जो कंज्यूमर्स हैं जो राजकोट से गए हैं वहाँ शायद आपको प्रीमियम दे पाएँ। और तीसरा है मैसिव स्केल ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। जैसे श्रिम्प में हमने किया, हम कहीं थे नहीं श्रिम्प के बाज़ार में, लेकिन जब हमने ग्रोथ करना शुरू किया तो हम दुनिया के बड़े श्रिम्प प्रोडक्शन में हैं। तो ये तीनों चीज़ें होनी चाहिए। और भारत सरकार का ये क्रेडिट है कि संस्थाएं हैं जैसे एपिडा, उन्होंने जब ग्रेप्स पे फोकस किया तो अपना देश जो है ग्रेप्स में कॉम्पिटिटिव बन गया। बनाना ये हो रहा है, लेकिन इन सब के बावजूद जो है अगर हम देखें कि और आगे हमें क्या करना है, तो टैरिफ्स आर गोइंग टू स्टे हियर। टैरिफ तो रहने ही वाला है। और आज अमेरिका ने लगाया, कल मैक्सिको ने लगाया। जैसा मैंने बताया हम खुद लगाते हैं। अगर हम 0 से 150% तक टैरिफ लगा सकते हैं, 20-30% लगाते हैं, तो दूसरे देशों से ये उम्मीद रखना, क्योंकि वो भी तो कॉम्पिटिटिव होंगे दिन बाय दिन, कि वो हमारे ऊपर नहीं लगाएंगे। उसका एक बड़ा तोड़ है बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स, जो हमारा देश जो है कई देशों के साथ कर रहा है। एंड इफ यू लुक एट मैक्सिको, व्हाट हैज दे सेड एनी कंट्री which does not have a bilateral trade agreement with them would be imposed with a tariff. Okay, now let's divert a little bit on the policy side and say what are other factors that would ensure that despite agricultural tariff our farmers remain competitive. So it brings us to something called risk management. तो जब कोई चीज़ हम प्रोड्यूस करते हैं तो उसमें कॉस्ट लगता है, कैपिटल लगता है, क्रेडिट भी होता है। तो श्रीकांत has been a reputed risk manager and he has talked about risk in many ways. I would like him to highlight how does a better risk management can help the export competitiveness of the produce, and also what is it that is happening right now in light of the agricultural tariffs that has come into play.
Hello. Yeah. So thank you. So risk management, I would like to speak little in length. So what is risk management? I am talking more on price risk management. There are various risks, but all those risks are ultimately reflected into the prices, either because of tariffs. Now we are talking a risk of tariffs or major risk of government policy. Tariffs is also, of course, a policy risk because it is external. So we have internal risks as well as external risks, because of which prices are going up and down. For example, if tariffs are imposed by foreign countries, then obviously our prices are coming down because our exports are not going. Similarly, sometimes foreigners increase tariffs or increase prices of their exportable goods to India. Our prices in India, for example, crude oil or even gas, if their exports to India, if they tax it or if prices goes up into the sourcing countries, prices in India will go up. In either case, there will be a price risk, sometimes for farmers, sometimes for producers, sometimes for traders, exporters. So everybody in the supply chain management or commodity value chain, right from producers, processors, exporters, traders, and even government itself, because government is holding some 75 to 80 million tons of food grains. So everybody is at risk of prices coming down or going up. And this price risk has to be managed by some platform. There has to be a platform which should give equal opportunity to every value chain participant to manage their price risk. If you manage price risk, half the problems are over and you become a competitive in global market as well as local market. But this price risk management platform, which we are talking about, commodity derivatives market, this platform has been weakened in this country ultimately because 4 years ago and last 5 times in last 20 years, government has banned futures trading in various agricultural commodities. Now the latest ban 4 years ago, which was on soybean or pulses, that is still existent, and because of which the investment money has completely dried up into the agricultural, bringing further problems. Now tariffs has multiplied problem, in the magnitude is so high. What is happening and what are the impacts of this that is going to happen in the months to come? If we look at it, then we will understand the seriousness of why we need price risk management badly, like China or American countries or Western economies. They have very robust price risk mechanism, and Indian government has killed the price risk mechanism. Now let me tell you, because of this tariffs, what is going to happen? Because of our exports are down, not only agricultural products, but all the auto components or whatever our manufacturing story is at risk now because we cannot export it, whatever we are manufacturing. Obviously, this manufacturer or these corporates or everybody in this value chain are going to face a tough financial problems, and because of which their credit, the banks who have advanced huge credit to these multiple sectors is also going to come under a risk. And we have seen the bank's balance sheets have been cleaned up in the last decade or last 5 to 6 years, and our bank's balance sheets were very nice, looking very nice. But now there is a risk that if the vicious circle of default begins from the corporates and from every, like farm loans also, due to depressed prices, farm loans also are at risk and corporate loans are also at risk. If the default, vicious circle of defaults begin, then bank will come under attack, new wave of NPAs. And if they have to manage these NPAs, they should make compulsory to the corporates whom they are advancing loan that you plus hedge your price risk so that our money is not at stakes. And for that, we need a Reserve Bank of India's intervention badly. Bank should tell their clients, Reserve Bank should give a instruction to their member banks that you should make compulsory for all the clients that if you are going to take loan from us, show us your hedging position, then our loans will not be at risk. But for that, RBI has to tell government also, you first give them hedging mechanism as well. Otherwise, these corporates are going overseas and hedging their price risk, but not all can go. So this way, the tariffs has a direct relation with this vicious circle of defaults, which could hit the country very badly. Because this is the importance of risk management platform, like derivatives market, that has to exist and that has to emerge very stronger in this country. Thank you.
Okay. So जो श्रीकांत ने कहा उसको अगर मैं छोटे में कहूँ तो जो प्राइस ट्रांसमिशन रिस्क है वो बहुत मतलब एक काफ़ी इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है, और उसमें सभी जो पॉलिसी होल्डर्स हैं, जो पॉलिसी मेकर्स हैं या पॉलिसी एग्जीक्यूटिंग एंटिटीज़ हैं, चाहे वो मिनिस्ट्री हो या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट हो या हम आरबीआई की बात करें, तो टू बी फेयर टू द गवर्नमेंट एंड द पॉलिसी मेकर्स, दे हैव डिफर्ड द the repayments, export charges repayments for textile industry, because they were badly impacted in due to US tariffs, because we were one of the largest exporters to them. And so government really works in tandem. A lower interest rate, for example, RBI has reduced interest rate over last 2 cycles by 25 basis points each. Now what it has done is our cost of credit comes down, and that means we have much easily available credit, and our competitiveness goes up. It can help us, but only to a limited extent. Before we open the floor for question, I would like Abhay to tell us with an illustrative example specific to a US exports, and illustrate it how does it impact a farmer, let's say in Nasik or Pune, when such kind of tariffs hit, and what can be done about it. Abhay.
So basically, if you look at the total export components of India, basically India's export, agriculture export is close to around $52 billion, out of which the export to USA is hardly 10 to 11%, is $5.7 billion. If you look at the overall component of the US export, predominantly it was the marine export, or the shrimp export was the major component, followed by rice. And so majorly, if you look at it, the major impact which we are envisaging, that the marine sector or the shrimp sector will be impacted much. But if you look at the figures of, because close to 50% of the export of shrimp was to USA, but fortunately the government has done, and the Marine Export Promotion Council has done extremely good job. They have diverted the maximum business to other China, Vietnam, Belgium, other countries. So even in the October month also, they have reported the export growth of 11%. That's extremely good sectors. All other sectors other than agriculture, whether it's a textile, gem, jewelry, all have been impacted. But the shrimp sector has done extremely good, extremely well. As far as the rice industry is concerned, rice export to USA, basically, as Mr. Ajit also stated, that rice export to USA is predominantly is hardly 3% of the total rice export goes to, because we are majorly exporting to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and now Iran has also come down to a lower position now. But the rice export to USA is hardly 3%, hardly 2.5 billion. So that will not be impacted much. So already 50% import duty has been impacted. So now additional, the hoax which the Trump government is trying to create, that they will put additional, what will happen, what the worst will happen now. Whatever it has happened, it has already happened, and the sector will not be impacted. So from the US standpoint of view, impact will not be much, but in terms of overall export, any tariff which is imposed on any tariff, it does affect the competitiveness of Indian farmers. So if you take the examples of onion or Nashik area, so the prices of onion have come down to, I think, close to 14-15 rupees. So because the export ban was there, so because of that, they could not be able to encash the opportunity which was there. The other countries could be able to fulfill that gap. Now the export, the stock which was lying at the eastern area, in the Assam area, and there was no transportation facility, the prices had crashed. So that has impacted a lot. So if there is a consistency in the policy, they would have taken the right position at right time, and the right position. Even the crop production cycle, crop production will also be dependent upon the policy stability, because what you grow, generally what is the normal cycle is that today the prices are higher, next year the farmers will go for higher production of that particular crop. Again, the excess production will be there will be glut in the market, and the prices will come down. So this cycle which keeps on happening. So government is trying to keep it, but because of the changes, without anticipating the overall ecosystem, if it is not taken into account, all the aspect of the entire the value chain is taken care of, the players of that agri value chain will be impacted. So as about the onion is the right example. Even in case of maize though, which is not an exportable commodity, but the government has promoted too much of maize production. So maize area had gone up by 1 lakh, almost 10 lakh hectares. So the excess production, and in the meantime what happened, the government has also allowed 40% or made it compulsory that 40% of the broken rice has to be purchased by FCI. So FCI, the ethanol manufactured out of the rice will be at lower prices. So maize, the maize prospects have come down significantly because the overall maize, the ethanol, the demand of the oil marketing cooperative was 11,000 crore liter. So while the capacity is half. So that's why any policy, whether it's import policy, export impositions, likewise in the oil sector, because India is the edible, majorly we are importing edible oil because 14 to 15 million tons of edible oil is imported. But if you have allowed the import duties increased or reduced, so the export, the edible oil which is imported from the foreign will be impacted. So the local solvent extraction plant unit will be keep on harping that you increase the margin so that we will be domestically will remain viable. So this is the case of soybean. Soybean prices are still very lower. Now it is moving a little bit upwards, but otherwise by and large it was lower. Take the case of pulses. Pulses, there was no point at all in allowing the yellow pea by the government to import free. Now because of the lot of hue and cry which has been created, now they impose 30% of import duty on the pulses. That because the yellow pea will be mixed with the pulses, with the gram. With the gram prices itself, Bengal gram prices, जो चने का price यदि वो खुद ही इतना नीचे है, MSP से नीचे है, तो फिर आपका yellow pea लेके करेगा इतना huge quantity का yellow pea पड़ा हुआ था उस समय. तो ये सब चीज़ें के पॉलिसी की वजह से पूरा जो इम्पैक्ट हो जाता है कि किस समय पे आपको इंपोर्ट रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगाना है, किस समय आपको इंपोर्ट हाइक करना है या एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी लगाना है या एक्सपोर्ट के लिए कंसेशन देना है. तो ये सब पॉलिसी इम्पैक्ट करने के ओवर जो अल्टीमेटली जो लास्ट माइल के ऊपर जो खड़ा हुआ है, जो अपना उस वैल्यू चेन में जो सबसे आखिरी में खड़ा हुआ है वो फार्मर है और वही जाके उसको इम्पैक्ट होता है.
Abhay, so he has talked a lot on what could be done. Now, to be fair to the government, we have done a lot of work on EU trade agreements. So farmers from Nasik, farmers from Pune who are into grape production, they can look forward to increased market in the European Union and in United Kingdom. Okay. Now, I won't take any more time amongst us, but just I will share something very exciting that Ajit was talking about, where Sahyadri has set up a specific cell of giving training to farmers how to become globally competitive. Okay. Now those are trainings, those are exposure visits, so many such things can be done. I just rest my case here right now on the agriculture tariff and open the this floor for questions.
Good morning. It was a very interesting discussion, very close to the farmers' hearts. My question is for Shrikant sir. He mentioned about robust price risk management in US and China. Apart from futures and options, are there any other mechanisms where price risks are managed well in these countries?
Not to my knowledge, but price risk management, one thing is just you can hedge directly on the futures exchange, but there are alternative markets which are actually not developing because of it is a vicious, or we can say पहले अंडा या पहले चिकन. वैसे हो रहा है कि there are electronic platforms which are in parallel with APMC market mechanism. Those platforms have not reached to the common people. Those platforms should reach to the, not common people exactly, but farmers or even traders. There are app-based forms, there are electronic auction platforms where price discovery for your products are definitely much better than what you have been exploited in the APMC market yards. So those platforms, it is a journey right from the APMC market where you have maximum exploitation. From there you go to electronic auction platforms. There are various formats, there are apps, and there are where the buyers and sellers are coming on the expanse is bigger. Those are apps, and there are electronic auction platforms like I think NEML is there, Agribazar is there. There are web portals, several platforms, several private markets For example, another example is not marketmirchi.com. It's a simple, anybody can use, most user-friendly portal where also trades can happen and good buyer and good seller can come together and deal can be done. Of course, the volume is very low, but it's not just the agriculture commodity. You can sell land, you can sell flat as well, you can sell non-agriculture. So this platform has to be explored by people. For that, they should know this awareness or परिचय करून देणं या प्लॅटफॉर्मचा शेतकरी वर्गामध्ये. मुद्दाम मराठी बोलतोय कारण शेतकरी असतील किंवा या संदर्भातले असतील, या लोकांना याचं प्लॅटफॉर्म्स आहेत आपल्या आजूबाजूला. मी हेच काम करत सगळ्या महाराष्ट्रावर फिरलो की तुम्ही बाजार समितीचं दरवेळा एक्सप्लॉयटेशन होतं तरी सारखे तिथेच का जातं. त्यांनी सांगितलं आम्हाला पर्यायच नाही दुसरा. मी तेच सांगतो, पर्याय नाही असं नाही, पर्याय आहेत. दुर्दैवाने ते पर्याय सरकारने त्यांचा गळा आवळून ठेवला आहे पॉलिसीमध्ये, पण तरी ते चालू आहेत. तुम्ही एक्सप्लोर करा, जेवढी जास्त माणसं त्या पर्यायांवर येतील. हे पर्याय कुठले आहेत याचं दिवसाचं 2 दिवसाचं ट्रेनिंग सेशनही घेतो.
इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम,
येस सॉरी पण ते पर्याय आहेत, वेगवेगळे आहेत, त्याच्यातनं तुम्ही रिस्क मॅनेजमेंट करू शकता. थँक्यू.
I think we can continue the discussion as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being a very patient audience, and with this we conclude the session. Thank you.
So the difference between success and struggle can be found in details of trade agreement. Our leading experts, including risk officers and commodity analysts, have made this topic more easier for all of us. So thanks a lot panel for this well-engaging discussion. Thank you Rajesh sir for navigating this session, and as a small token of our gratitude and appreciation for your this distinguished presence over here, please accept this memento from Bombay Chamber. And to present this, I would like to invite Sandeep sir, our DG. Mr. Sandeep Khosla sir will present these mementos to all the dignitaries, including our moderator sir. Yes. Mr. Shrikant Kuwalekar, Commodity Price Risk Management Consultant and Advisor to World Bank Smart Project. Mr. Ajit Lad, Director and Agribusiness Commodity Analyst, Farmeducon Research Foundation. Mr. Abhay, Dandwate, Chief Risk Officer and Head Strategy, National Bulk Handling Corporation Private Limited. And our moderator, Mr. Rajesh Sinha, Angel Investor, Consultant and Expert Committee Member. Thank you, thanks a lot. Yeah. These are small gifts. Thank you panel, thank you. Please give them a big round of applause for this wonderful discussion. Day 2 started with this engaging session.